Hello there, Metalheads. You're listening to Metal Verbalizer podcast. My name is Erik, and this time we're going to talk about another band from Sweden called Aerodyne. The name comes from that all of the lads are industrial workers, and I've heard one explanation that it is an play or a shortened version of the word aerodynamic, and shortened it became Aerodyne. Which is a cool name. The band is made to be a 5 strong crew, but at the moment they are only 4 strong. But it works anyways, and when talking to one of the members, he said that he thinks that it is great that they are able to do that and have that flexibility. And he did not mention anything about if they are looking for a new member at the moment, though. When touring, the band always appreciates a good old road trip in a regular car. I guess that they would use a minivan to fit everybody and the gear and all of that stuff. Or I don't know, maybe they use a trailer. But that I don't know for sure, obviously. What he also said is that you only live once, unfortunately. Because of that, they make sure to get some fun into it and party together after the last gig on the weekend. And I think that that is a perfect mindset and also a very important one, just to get the lads together and also like off stage, so you don't like meet every time when you're just gonna gig, because that's going to keep them together and keep them from drifting apart. And since we're talking about gigging, the band has mentioned actually that during the autumn they are going to do about 7 or 8 gigs in east of Europe. I didn't get any information about specific countries, but they said that they love East Europe at least. So I don't know. So I guess that if you live in the East Europe, you're going to have to take a look on their social media to see where they take off next. Like many bands together with these guys, COVID became a little of a setback. Sadly, in this case, it set them back worse than they thought. And unfortunately, it is partially because of that the band, according to themselves, wasn't active enough on social media. And this is something that, in my opinion, is extremely important, COVID or not, because that is where you can reach out to your listeners and in some cases even chat with them in the comment sections on some of the posts and that sort of stuff. It is also important to upload when you're out gigging and such, so that you can tell your fans that you're still active. And that is something that is a concept that is now in this day and age. And if you're not active on social media, you don't exist, to put it harshly. But when you're looking at bands, not necessarily Aerodyne, and you look at their Facebook pages, for example, and see that they haven't uploaded anything for 2-3 months, then you're sort of going to start to wonder if the band is still active. Social media is just so important nowadays, and I'm not saying that you need to post every day, but as a band, I would say maybe once a week is a good amount or something like that. And this is not a rant aimed at Aerodyne, absolutely not. This is just what I think in general is important when it comes to social media, because when I'm looking at bands, like I said, I happily want to see that they have some posts and staying active on social media and that sort of stuff, because that's partially where I get my information from for these episodes, and then the web pages and all of that sort of stuff. But anyways, let's talk about the music that they have released, because there are some really cool stuff here. They debuted back in 2016 with a single called Old Flames Die Hard. This is an interesting track with a main riff which is very driving and almost more to a hard rock sound and feel to it. And then a chorus with more of a punk rock sound to it. It might sound weird, but it definitely isn't. In my opinion, it works, and it is a really good track actually. But it differs very much from their latest two albums that have been released that we're going to talk about in a minute. The same year, the single was followed by an EP named after the band, and it contained the single together with two other tracks. In my opinion, this EP, sound-wise, is somewhere in between hard rock and classic heavy metal. And the final track on the EP, called Feel the Speed, might be my personal favorite from this release. Next release comes in late 2017, where they released the single Coming For You. This is a great one where we can hear the band starting to go more and more towards the classic British heavy metal that we all love. And the single was followed by their first full-length album called Breaking Free, with 10 tracks of total awesomeness. Unfortunately, I have only been able to listen to Coming For You at the moment, so I can't really give an honest review on this one, but I'm sure that the rest of the songs keeps the same quality as the single that was released included in the album. Now we are in 2019, when we first get two new singles called Kick It Down and March Davai, followed by a brand new full-length album called Damnation. This album is one that I absolutely love. Here we can start to hear some clear Judas Priest inspiration. And if you're going to take inspiration from a classic heavy metal band, why not take inspiration from the best one in the history of metal, in my opinion. This album starts off strong with a sort of interlude that has some organ in it, which is interesting because this band doesn't have any synthesizers or anything like that. The sound is very like guitar, bass, and drums and vocals. That is the only thing that you're gonna hear on the records. All in all, when it comes to this album, it feels like they upgraded with this one. If you like Priest, I think that you might find something that you will like here. And remember that I'm talking a lot about Priest inspiration right now, but this is not a carbon copy of Priest. I really want to have that said. They have things in there that isn't very much like Priest, but some stuff is like Priest, if you know what I mean. But some good examples of my favorites from this album is definitely Kick It Down, Murder in the Rye, and Damnation, which is the title track. But yeah, now we have actually reached 2022, and the last bunch of releases in shape of two singles called Razor's Edge and Alien Front, but we have also gotten a full-length album where the singles are featured called Last Days of Sodom. This album is another great one, and the first thing I'm hearing is that the mixing and mastering is a little different than the previous album. So I wonder if they have switched the people that they work with in that process. It's very clear on the drums, and particularly the snare of the drums is very like different from the previous album. But that's not a bad one. Absolutely not. This album once again has those really aggressive and driving drums and the very classic heavy metal guitar riffing. Obviously, you have this song Razor's Edge, for example, on this album, which is a fantastic metal song. But you also have one of my absolutely favorite songs from this album called Innocence Lost. This track is a little bit slower, but they're mixing clean guitars with the heavy distorted guitars, and it is a song that has some elements that could make it count as a metal ballad, in my opinion. And this song might be one of my top 3 or 5 from this band, actually. And I guess that could be a good idea to name some of my top 5 songs from this band. And that way you get somewhere to start when you decide to give this band a shot. But remember, these aren't in any particular order, and it was actually quite hard to pick them out. For the first one, Kick It Down is an absolutely amazing track. So that one you have to listen to. Number 2 would be Out for Blood, maybe. And number 3 would be Endgame, which is also a fantastic one. All of these are fantastic ones. Number 4 would be Razor's Edge. And number 5, I put Innocence Lost. And remember, these weren't in a particular order. All of these 5 are absolutely fantastic ones. And it's somewhere for you to start. It is from different a little bit of different albums here and there. But yeah, I would say that if you like 80s classic heavy metal like Priest or Van Halen or Accept or anything, then I think that there are good chances that you will like Aerodyne. And if you're not usually into the classic heavy metal, I would like to ask you to give them a chance anyway, because they have so much intensity in a lot of the songs. So if you like the heavier stuff, in quotation mark, like thrash, for example, you might actually like him anyways because of the absolutely super aggressive drums and that sort of stuff. But make sure to follow the band's social media to stay updated on what they're up to. And that's the easiest way to help the band to reach out to new fans and maybe consider to buy their music as well, to make sure that they can make more awesome music. And speaking of music, I have heard some rumors about that there are more music in the making. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about names, sound, or in what shape it's going to be released in. But I've heard some rumors that there are new music in the making, which is super exciting. I think that this is all I have for you about Aerodyne, for now at least. And if you like what we're doing here on Metal Verbalizers, bringing you new awesome metal to listen to, please make sure to follow us on our social medias as well to stay updated on what band we're going to talk about next. And sometimes we're actually releasing extra episodes as well, where we talk to the bands in an interview or tour stories, where the bands come on and tell fun stories from the road. And well, anyways, that's all for me right now. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.